Hello, everyone, and welcome to another IndieX 2020 showcase. This time today, we'll have the pleasure of being here with Igor, who is the main designer for Speed Limit. So, how are you doing, Igor?
Hi there. I'm doing quite fine. Thank you. How are you?
Nice. I'm doing awesome as well, given our current situation. Everything is pretty okay. So today we're basically going to be showing you a bit of the gameplay from Speed Limit. We'll take some questions in the chat. If anyone wants to ask some questions, feel free to do it. We'll come back later and then we'll read them to Igor and see what he thinks of your opinions. And basically, Igor, for people who don't know your game, can you give us just a small pitch on what it is, what you want from it, what you think about it? Just talk a bit about it.
Yeah, so the long story short of Speed Limit is that it's like a tour de force of all the 90s arcade games you've ever tried. We think that we've picked out the best bits, so we kind of go through all the arcade genres from side-scrolling, top-down, racing from the back, isometric shooting, and then we add a few of our own as well. That is the plane levels at the end.
Nice.
Um, what we want from it, well, we want it to be like what it's what it is on paper, like a tour de force, right? It's a hard game. We
Yeah.
don't make any apologies for it. Yeah, yeah. So games that we grew up with were hard. So we thought that it's like that's kind of missing in today's games. We try to make it hard, but we try to make it fair. Like so, you don't think that like that you've been killed by something off screen from very far away. We try to like iron out those kinds of kinks, but it still will be very hard.
Yes, yes, I know. From the time I had with the game, all I can say is I'm going to do my best to try to be interesting in conversation and play at the same time. So I'll excuse this
Good luck.
time. I never use easy mode, but I think for this one I have to. Otherwise, we're not gonna get to the juicier parts of the demo, and I mean that's what matters, right? Showing off the game. So I think without further ado, we can get into it. Let's check it out. Okay. So
Should be
here's the
fine.
game.
I think you only won't you just won't collect any of the achievements, but that's fine.
Yeah, I already have some actually. Let's check.
Well, that
Look, see, I have some really cool.
nice.
I have this one actually, which is very
Oh,
awesome.
these are the early ones. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see how well I can do about this game. So when you start the development of this game, like you already mentioned a bit that you wanted to give us a little bit more challenge, right? To get back
Yes.
into the type of challenges that games used to be. Did that stem from like your gaming preferences as you grow up? Do you share it with most of the team developing? Well, how did this appreciation for difficulty come into your gaming tastes, so for say?
This is it's sort of natural in a way that a lot of games these days have a lot of hand holding. So it's hard because it sort of stems from the actual arcade games, as in the games that were played on big arcade cabinets. And they were obviously very hard because people used to make money off them, like from quarters and everything.
Yeah.
But but since it's gone away. I mean, the games have been progressively more open to like people with who didn't want to spend so much time developing the skill, and we think that's kind of missing in a lot of today's games. Like there is a lot of hand holding, and there's a lot of well, you can pass through it. That's fine. Like I don't personally, at least, I don't think that you need to be able to get through a game like at all costs. Like that this is something that should happen. That is the way that you should be able to consume this particular medium, right? So I think that there is some sort of skill involved in it, and I think that it's much more rewarding if it is hard. Once you go through it, like there is a sense of like you know not relaxation, like there's something to celebrate
Yeah,
once you finish the
you feel
game, right?
like you've earned it, right?
You yeah, there's a sense of accomplishment that you get from that was the word I was trying to get to, that you get from actually beating it. And this is what I wanted to say with we tried to make it like hard but fair, like that there wouldn't be
Oh no.
anything
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
much
No.
easier to see if you keep shooting.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh no. Go back a little bit. Evade. No. Yeah. First death. Here we go. In the dark. No, but I understand what you're saying because since games now mainly AAA games take like a lot of time to make, and they are mostly narratively focused, not so much mechanically focused, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, like the devs themselves want people to see their game, right? And they want them to see everything. They don't want them to have to feel like, oh, he's not going to see this thing I spent like 60 hours making because the game is too hard and he just can't make it there. So that's a bit of the reason why those games, I think, go on the easy side. You're not supposed to die. You're not supposed to like have difficulties, right? During your playtime, you're supposed to like maybe once or twice you come up with a boss that is actually like, okay, oh, what am I doing? But most of the time it's an easy breeze, and I think that's because, of course, because of the investment of the devs and how long games take to make, and they feel like
Yeah, that's definitely a part
everything
of it.
has to be seen, right? Everything has to be enjoyed. And yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of space for games like this one, Speed Limit,
I
and
think that. Mhm. I think that's a fundamental, actually. Way to go! You
yeah.
got you got to the second one.
Oh,
So yeah, I think that's like a fundamental difference in the actual philosophy of how you make a game, right? So this has been a big problem, I think, with certain RPGs, like post 2005, I think. So there were RPGs before that and around that time that like you were not going to see everything, and that
yeah.
was fine. Like you were going to see what your character was going to see. Like there would have been a lot of content, like obviously much less because the budgets and the sizes of the games have been growing steadily like over the years, and the teams that make them. But still, like the size is always relative to the time when you're making it. And like there would be things that you would not see, and I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, uh, at the very least, it's something that you
Oh,
can come back to. Oh,
yeah, yeah. The
never
gap in the
never go
frames.
back, never go
Yeah.
back.
Mind the gap.
Yes,
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
we try to make the level names interesting, but
Yeah, yeah. No,
we're
no,
still
and
we're still looking for a German version of that. I haven't
oh,
like the translation that we're using right now doesn't have the same ring. Mind the Gap
yeah,
obviously is the very famous one from the London Underground, but
yeah.
like I would like it if it was something that
Could
like
be.
if a local underground has something a similar like warning, that'd be I think that'd be much better
Yeah.
because the joke doesn't work in any other language then.
I actually don't know if we have one in Portugal. I think so. Well, but yeah, I agree with you with that whole RPG things. That must be like, yeah, you don't need to see everything. I mean, a game is supposed to be what you make of it, right? So
Hmm.
some people play a game for hundreds of hours, some people play for 5, and I mean sometimes people come out of the 100-hour gameplay and they don't feel like they got what they wanted from the game, and
Yeah.
some people just play 5 hours and say, "Oh my god, that was amazing." So be that as it may, yeah, I think we should make games like the games we want to make, right? And not
Oh, absolutely.
only
Yeah.
the something that, oh, he has to see every little piece of content I make. No, I mean players who, oh no, yeah, just go on, just forge ahead. Yeah, you're right. Don't look back.
Never look back. Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, there are definitely games, even in the game, there are definitely things in this game that people won't notice. They're either just a little earlier,
Yeah, yeah,
that are either too small or too quick to notice for everyone. And I still think that's fine. Like if somebody points them out to you, you might catch them. I'm not gonna say what it is for the story wise, but for example, the parts that we like to the people liked on Twitter at least the detail on the airplanes for the plane level. It's very difficult to notice that bullets actually hit the planes and leave marks where they hit them, and that's something that isn't really
yeah, yeah.
a common thing like in pixel art games.
The extra detail. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
You feel it because it's very natural, like what happens.
oh,
It's not a sprite that just appears like it usually does in pixel art games. But it's very difficult to actually notice it. That's like
okay,
every time you move the plane or the enemy planes moves, the all the control surfaces on the plane are actually accurate to what the plane would be doing if it was
oh,
doing that maneuver.
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, a bit too soon. I have to hold on
Oh,
that
a
jump.
little too
I
soon.
was trained to think that the trains were going to split there, so I was like, cheeky. Did you have any favorite parts or most challenging part of development for this game? Something that you want to share with us? Something that you maybe learned during the development of the game?
Oh yeah, the thing I've learned that is everything takes longer than I think it does. Like
Yeah.
this started off as a game that we thought would we can something we can do that my co-founder and friend Alex and I can do like churn out in about 3 months. Then it turned out to be that it's a year-long game that it takes two programmers and two artists to do like on time,
Oh, nice.
and we're still kind of tweaking it. But the other one, like the favorite parts, is every level that you work on at the time that you work on. Since technically it's 6 games in one.
Yeah.
Since every level is basically a new mechanic, so it's kind of like a new game.
Oh no.
Like every time you work on it is like, oh yeah,
Something
this is
different.
like this is the best one, obviously. Like this is now the best one, and this is so much fun. And I think it might actually just help with my particular like neurology, but
Yeah.
that we've
Seems
changed,
fresh.
and like that we went through so many, that we went through so many different games basically. But it's like it's really nice working on something that kind of you have to finish this part, then you have to move on, and then we go back and tweak it a bit so that it's more enjoyable to play and everything. But yeah, it's every time you're working on a new level, like that's the best one, that's the best
Oh,
part.
okay, nice. Did you have? You mentioned, of course, that you're inspired by the earlier arcade games, right? Do you have any favorites that you can talk to us that like directly inspired this game?
Definitely like Earthworm Jim. That's one of the earliest games I know that has this concept of well,
Oh no.
it's not the earliest. It's the earliest. It's one of the earliest that I've played. Like I know that Robocop on like the Atari or something, on something very very slow and very old. Used to do like a multi-genre approach in one game, and that was very very difficult at the time. But I think like Earthworm Jim had this kind of comedy add to it, and it was really fun. This part obviously
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very very much inspired by GTA, because the movement in the first GTA games that were top down, if anybody remembers, was really fun. And we wanted it a bit distilled to the part when you have a fast car in it and you just gun it, and like you don't end up needing to make a turn because you run out of road at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point.
Oh.
Let's
Okay,
see
cool.
what else. Outrun, obviously, for what is the motorcycle level. Scorcher was one of the important ones for the race. That was already a 3D game, but because we can relatively easily simulate the curvature, like vertical curvature up and down, like going up a hill and down a pass. This kind of has this feel to it, and because the bike actually jumps off the ground.
Oh,
Uh, but yeah, on the other hand, there's no other game that we know of that did these transitions so smoothly. So
oh.
like there are multi-stage games, multi-genre games, but none of them just like before the 3D times have these smooth transitions
Yeah, yeah.
between the genres.
Okay. Was it from the beginning meant to be a multi-genre game, or
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
was it
yeah.
grew along the project?
Yeah, it was meant to be a multi-genre game from the start. It was supposed to be actually a few more levels, because like if
Oh no
you
no no.
if you almost, yeah. You're almost at the end, I think now.
Yeah, just a demo.
So yeah,
Okay, good. Oh, thank you.
so yeah, it definitely was a multi-genre game from the start. It was actually supposed to be a few more levels, but obviously, like when we noticed like just how much it takes, we tried to distill it down to what are the more interesting ones. So there would have been some repetition in the earliest drafts.
Yeah,
Uh,
going over the same kind of gameplay.
yeah, yeah. Like
Okay.
if you notice the camera moving, like the camera never moves more than like a 90. No, yeah, more than 90 degrees, and then there is it only moves more from the helicopter level, the isometric one, to the front facing plane level. That's more than 90 degrees, and that's because there was supposed to be another level in between. But then both contextually and time wise, there just wasn't like there was no way to stuff it in more, and we figured it was better to focus on the levels that we already have to make them better and more interesting.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, way to go.
People critically failed trying to kill you. Okay, good. 6 minutes spent to get away. 10 times you've written your timeline. Okay, good. Awesome.
Yeah, this is like the copy is very very intentional here. Like in the early stages of like the way we were understanding the game, everybody who's been trying to market it was looking at it like there is violence in the game. We're like, no, this is a pixel art game. This is a very jokey game. Obviously, like there are people on the train that are completely unfazed by what's going on with you, and like with the whole carnage that's going on in front of you. It's clearly meant to be more like comedic than that. And we try to avoid like mentioning violence at any point actually in any kind of communication about the game, because like to us it's just completely incidental. It's all about the mechanics of the game and
Yeah,
just
it just so
like
happens
having
to
fun.
be the kind of things that is happening on the screen right now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not the point of the game. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Actually, nice. So, do you have any funny stories you can share with us about the development time, some journey you did to see something, some place where you showed off the game, any kind of good memories or bad if you want that you have associated with the development of the game?
Oh yeah, it's very much fun like showing the game at any place, like because there 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 are a few kinds of people that approach it to play it. Like some of them like the very young ones, obviously the ones that are very used to these hand holding games are like, oh
Oh
no,
no.
like what's going on? I can't be bothered to spend more than 15 seconds to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Which is fine. This is perfectly fine. We're completely aware of that. And the other one is gets very excited. I think it has to be somewhere on our Twitter feed. This gentleman from the UK when we were at a festival in London, and he how much he was joking, I'm actually not sure. How much of what was it like merely his own dramatization, but it actually picked up the chair that he was sitting on and tried to smash the laptop.
What?
And it was like, yeah, not really. Clearly,
Yeah,
he
okay.
was at the very least he was joking enough to not harm the hardware. And then he sat down and was like, just one more time. Like that's basically the kind of player that we're after, right?
Yeah.
So like that they know that it's frustrating, but it's like, yeah, it's frustrating, but it's really rewarding when you finish it.
Yeah, that was my experience with the game. Exactly, was when I was playing for judging the games and everything. I was playing, I kept playing. I was like, come on, but I have to see this through the end. I haven't seen the end yet. I have to play more and more and more. Every time I died, I was like, but if I can get just a little bit more towards the end, then I can judge it better. And that's the mentality. And I think when you mentioned the earlier kids you were talking about, who like give up like
Mm-hmm.
really quick, this game is in a way is a teaching, also a teaching lesson, right? it, uh, to see failure not as like something that's final, but
Oh
something that
yes.
just means you can try again, right? Just try again, try again, try again, get better, improve.
Yeah, yeah, we absolutely try to make it so that the transition is, since there's this kind of visually told backstory in the back of the like in the back of the game. Like if you pay attention to what's going on besides the actual action, you can suss out the story. So this is what the video reel and the effect and the audio is supposed to suggest. But other than that, we try to make the transition between like dying and restarting very quick, so you can actually go through it very quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that death is merely a learning experience, and you can learn from it, and you can try again. Yeah, that's definitely that was definitely inspired by like Hotline Miami. We can't really hide that. Like learning how to play a game is like is kind of a core part of that game, and we try to incorporate that kind of mentality into this as well.
Yes, of course. We have a nice comment here on Facebook. Gonçalo says, "How dare you make a game about my daily commute to work?" I hope it's not as bad. I mean,
I hope it's not as bad as
yeah.
well. Yes,
But I mean,
like
if you can,
this.
if you on your way to work, you drive a train, then you grab a car, then you grab a copter, then I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a crazy, crazy ride. But he says,
I mean, you've already had a fulfilled day by
yeah,
then.
exactly. By then, he's just an action hero, and nobody knows it. That he's an action hero. So, if you could go back in the past and meet your past self pre-development, do you think you would have any advice for him? What would you tell him?
Oh yeah, I'd be frank with him as to how long it would take. Like this is a repeating problem for me. Like I I try to get I try to get into things uh, very very deeply, and it's like they have to be done, and they have to be done well. And it's like feature creep is a real problem. We put a stop to it to a degree, obviously, but then there's feature creep, and then there's feature improvement.
Yeah.
And at some point, like if enough people say, oh, this is bad, like we have one enemy that keeps popping up, the shield guy.
Mm-hmm.
We've I think we tweaked it like 10 or 15 times by this time. I'm not really sure like how many times we've gone through it. We've moved him around. We've like like everything that you've seen in, for example, level 1 at the time, right now, has been a steady sort of tweaking since March of this year, I think. From the feedback and from our game, playing the game. It's like people don't understand how to go through him. Well, we want to put him at the beginning because we want people to deal with him, to learn how to deal with him first, so that when they see them later, they know how to react quicker. But if it's too quick, then it's stopping the flow of the game, and it's like 15 iterations before it's gotten to where it is now. And like right now, I think it's the best that it can be at the moment, at least without any major changes to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
think it's okay. For me, it was not. It was like evidently clear, right? That because when I reached him, I was shooting everyone crouching because I knew they couldn't hit me. So when I shot like 4 or 5 times the same shield and I see nothing happened, my natural reaction was just to shoot, to go for the head, right? And that
mhm.
worked. So then I understood. So yeah, I think yeah, the iteration, because it's very important to find out, as you said, what is feature creep and something that needs fixing, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
feature creep is like, okay, we're adding more, we're doing more, but no one is really asking for it, right? It's not necessary to the like main core experience of the game. It's just adding on,
yeah.
adding on, adding on. And fixing something that isn't all right, that's really important, right? Because that's the main takeaway. People notice much more faster, right? If something is wrong than if you add something nice. Many of the times they just disregard even something nice because it's on the side or something. But the flaws are inherent. So yeah, that's one thing people need to learn as devs, and then that comes with experience. But from the little I played, it seems like you've got that down to a T. That's good advice.
Abs- Absolutely. Like learning what the core of the game is like, and just focusing on that is definitely the most important thing. And like I think making any game, just and it doesn't. I mean, all the game jams, even the ones that like, well, for us especially the ones that we participated in. But like for any game devs out there, like I think game jams are a perfect exercise for that, because you don't have time to do anything but the core.
Yeah.
And the more you can focus on the core, and the more you can make the core fun. That means everything else, like eventually you'll hit feature creep, but everything else will be clean, because the best gameplay features are the ones that people don't consciously notice. Like it's like the way the player jumps, like you don't think about it.
Yeah.
But if the player jumps the way you think that it has to jump, then you've finally done the job right. Like if it has a weird gravity from like when it falls down, like sometimes it's actually if it goes down at a too slow speed or a too fast speed or a different speed than you expect, then it's wrong, even though it physically may be correct, but it's like you don't expect it to
Yeah.
to behave that way.
Yeah. Game physics is not real life physics.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes.
We
Yes.
have another question in the chat.
Like,
João Miguel Correia asks, "Do you believe the next game you'll make will be less punishing?"
oh yes, yes, definitely. There we have several ones in the work for Game Check at the moment. None of them are like this particular kind, and even the next project that I'm interested in is not going to be this. Like we've done this. This is fine. We might revisit a level or two depending on the reception of this title, merely for like for the fun of it. Uh, but I think I I'd like to work on something that's more cerebral, like still actiony, but a little more thinking, less just plain action.
Okay. So would that be something a little bit more on the mechanical side still, or so as in
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
mechanically thinking puzzles and solving problems, and not in terms of a thinking game in terms of deep narrative and other kinds of things. Still keeping that mechanic basis, right?
Yeah, not necessarily deep narrative, but what I what I really what I really sort of took home from this particular game is that um, I like this idea of telling the story in the background,
Mm.
like
Oh, yeah.
making what's in the foreground for the player like purely mechanical, but as you play it, the story unfolds. Like, and if you pay attention, you will catch it, and you will actually construct a story from it, but it won't clog you down with it. You won't be sitting like, okay, we have a start cutscene and we have an end cutscene and we have these transitions, but the transitions are all I think under a second.
Yeah, snappy.
uh, yeah, they're very snappy because we never want you to feel very much out of control. I think the longest one is the one where the car goes around the off ramp, right at the end of level 3. I think that's the longest one, just because there's no way to make it look like realistic is the wrong word. Believable, I
Hmm.
think, is the most appropriate word. As it goes around the off ramp, right? But other than the initial cutscene and the end cutscene, we don't want you to feel like you've lost control, right?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of what I feel. And like if you're being spewed, if exposition is being spewed at you, then that feels forced to me. I for one absolutely hate unskippable content. Like if there's part of the story, like at the very least, I might have already played that part and I know what it's going to be. Like I really don't have to listen to it again, and that's why, for example, that you can actually skip the cutscene in speed limit. Like there's no need for you to go through that again and again and again and again.
Yeah, sure. And I think games in general have gotten better at that recently. As in, there's still a lot of games who are exposition heavy and still have a big narrative part, but they are trying
Ooh.
to at least give you that kind of exposition and that big chunk of text or dialogue, as you say, as you are doing something else, be it just walking, be it exploring and like finding some items or something, trying to at least insert the narrative into the gameplay instead of literally like you walk into a room, cut cutscene for like 5 minutes, cut to black, and then you play again. I think there's, of course, we can always get better at this, but thankfully, we've I think we're starting to improve. Obviously, it's not even in the same ballpark as Speed Limit, because Speed Limit is really much, as you said, mechanics are in the forefront, and if you want, there's something else that you can look at, but it's really not the point of the game. Um,
But I mean, sometimes it's not even a problem. Sometimes it's the entirety of the game design, right? Like if you have somebody like Naughty Dog, who like at least claim to build their games on the four pillars of like gameplay, cutscenes, exploration, and then combat, and like that makes sense. That makes sense for that kind of game,
mhm.
right? But I mean, if a game is very mechanically oriented, but then you force me to
Yeah,
sit through 5 minutes of cutscene on a festival somewhere where I just stopped by your booth to like play a
yeah,
game, like that's not. I'm trashing like a AAA title. Don't worry. Let's say it's none of the indies. Like I think indies are the most
yeah. No,
interesting
no.
part of any festival. By the way, like the most progress that there is in terms of developing the games as a genre is only, I think, found in like triple in indie games.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, and I think there's also another side of the coin, right? Because and this term is stupid because in the real life we know this doesn't work, but there's a sort of trickle down economics, let's say, in which most indie teams can't afford to innovate on the technical on the technical side, which I mean like the okay, the incredible shaders, new
Sure.
technology, new rendering pathways, blah 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 blah, blah yada yada yada. So AAA studios can sometimes use those big technical things as a selling point for the game because they are the ones that can do it. So sometimes they introduce something that people didn't even think was technically possible. But I agree in the part of like indie games offer maybe a different perspective in terms of how they use the mechanics, and that is the original sense of games, right? Not the
Constraints
technical, but
constraints
yeah,
always yeah constraints always breed creativity. I mean,
yeah.
the technicality of game design has been like a cornerstone of game building, like from the beginning, right? You were always trying to push more out of the machine that you were working on. Like early consoles and like computers like Amigas were notorious for programmers coding to what's the term again? Coding to the metal, right?
Yeah.
So trying to pull the computation directly out of the processor,
Hmm.
like speaking directly to the processors. There was no overlay, there was no OpenGL, there was nothing like in between. Like you were trying to squeeze the most out of the core of the machine to run your game. So that can go away. I mean, that's simply part of the medium. But on the other hand, you can't rely on it to. You can't rely on just one aspect, like incredible visuals or incredible audio, or even those two things combined are not, I think, the core of a good like. Uh, hmm. Okay, this is yeah, this is kind of complex issue, but
Yeah, yeah.
when I say good, I actually mean like highly technical,
Hmm.
as in realistic graphics, as in symphonic orchestra recordings of the score, things like that, right? So very high end interpretations of the technicality of the graphics and the audio. Those things, I don't think a game can necessarily like be like obviously it can sell on that
Yeah,
because that's what happens, but I don't think
that's
I don't
not the
think it
game.
pushes the medium. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah. Just look at something like Disc Room. I don't know. Do you know Disc Room?
No.
It was an indie game that came recently, just out. Like it was made relatively fast and cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very simple. You are in a room filled with
Mm-hmm.
saws, right? Discs that spin,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just trying to mechanically try to solve it, and it's very hard, just like speed limit.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no big technical things, no big flamboyant things, nothing like that, and it's selling really nicely. Just like as we saw, like Among Us is also a very simple game, and what matters is that the core game loop is fun,
Yeah.
and people are attracted to it, and they want to play it, and that it brings something new. Fall Guys is a bit more technically advanced than the two I mentioned, but it's still in the same, let's say, ballpark in terms of uh, being simple, quote unquote. Forget netcode and everything else. That's really
Yeah,
hard to do,
that's
and physics and whatever. No one cares about that. But yeah, you are right. The push,
but
the
I mean,
constraints on
like
indie.
Fall Guys, if you didn't have the realistic physics, maybe you'd have an approximation of them, and like I can completely envision Fall Guys being done like in 2D in like some kind of top down form.
Yeah,
Like you can still see the core of the gameplay like evolve from some early games like. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something where you push a ball around. It's never mind. I'll never come to it. It's something from an old arcade cabinet that you would the controller on the arcade cabinet was actually a rolling ball, and you
nice.
you would control it around. Like yeah, I have no idea what it was called. So somebody probably knows and is yelling at the screen right now.
We have a question here.
Hmm.
Revax von Beck. So, what would you
I
figure will be the next big thing coming from the indie market in terms of innovation? That's a big one.
have no idea.
Yeah, that's
um, I hope it's something in VR. I really look forward to VR games. I've played a few. Arizona. Oh dear, I don't want to say it wrong. It's Sunrise or Sunshine. Let me just.
check it.
That was Yeah. Is it? No, it must be Sunshine then. It's my by far. Okay, I haven't played a lot of them,
Mhm.
and I haven't played the big ones like the Elite and
Mhm.
yeah, Sunshine, Arizona Sunshine. But this is some. I always bring this up because I found it interesting that it's a zombie shooter, and
Mhm.
I for one thought that there have been enough like first person zombie shooters around, and just playing this in VR was so much fun. I think I played it for something like 2 hours straight, and it was I only stopped because I lost track of where the cable is, and I thought I was going to trip over
Yeah.
and like pull everything with me, and I was like, if I take it off now, I'm taking it off, and
Yeah.
it's like this was a long enough session.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, I'm kind of hoping it's something in VR because I think this is an incredible area. Like to explore. And also the other thing is I'd like it to be something that it explores like the concept of the concept of a game more. Let me make myself a bit more clear. So, uh, like when you think of an arcade game, you think either top down or you think isometric or you think
Mhm.
side scrolling, for example. And like I'm thinking, like, is that all there is? Like, yeah, there's first person, there's third person. What else would there be? There are a few games that you play in second person, so you actually see yourself from somebody else's eyes, and you try to shoot them. There have been games like that, and experimental ones, and so on. I'm really looking forward to somebody coming up with a different interpretation of how to play a game, like that. It's whether it's a puzzler or whatever else. But I'm really fond of those. There's been a really interesting again VR game, and again I don't know the name, where you manipulate space in a way that you're
Uh,
I think you make it like very large and very small.
yeah, you
I
you
don't even
grab
know how to.
something, you push it up to the camera, and it increases in size, right? Or it decreases relative to the space and the place where you put it, something like that.
That's another one.
Yeah.
That's a completely different one, and I think that one's called
Yeah,
Superliminal,
superliminal.
maybe.
Yeah, but I know
Nope.
I
That is
know there's one I know it's Annapurna's Interactive, right? That's publishing it, the one you're talking about, I think. It's
might
I
be.
think so. But I agree with you. I love VR. I don't have any VR headset, unfortunately. But from every single place that I've played VR, I've played at expos. I've played Moss. I've played Giant Coast. I've played London Studio, the Fire something. Well, the one that's like kind of a heist. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean,
Obviously, the hardware cost needs to go down still.
yeah.
Like that's still. Like I think the recent the last generation, the latest generation I should say, that came out has done a lot. But I think like next one and the one after that might be a good push, and it's like the good games are going to start selling those products. I think.
Is it
Like if.
Maquette the
Mhm.
game? Like
Ooh.
Maquette, something like that. I'll put it here in
Uh,
the chat for people to see. But yeah, I because every single time I put on a VR like helmet, I don't know, it feels magical. It feels different. Feels like I'm actually in the game, and it's just I feel like a kid every time I'm interacting with something in VR. Like when I grab something, when I use it, it's much more fun than just grabbing a controller and going like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, this is. It's still good. It's fun, but like when I grab something in VR, I actually feel I don't know. It's hard to explain. You feel giddy. I feel giddy at least every single time I take off a VR helmet. I'm super happy on the inside, and I don't know why. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that you also share that because since it's like a niche market, I guess indie games wouldn't need to sell gangbusters on it, right? To compensate the kind of investment that's needed. I mean, the biggest investment initially is of course the developing for a platform where you need to wear it and you need to have it and you have to play, right? But yeah, I would
I
also
think
love to see more innovation on the VR side. Let's see if Sony
the
makes a PlayStation VR 2. We'll see.
the thing is that the thing is that I think that the trick is to go from the top down, from the top up, right? Not top up, from the bottom up. That is to say, like we started off like making Tetris, and Tetris was fun. Like we know already what's fun in a VR game, and you like pointed it out very very specifically. It's interaction. I'm trying to I'm trying to find one game like where that was very well done.
I forgot one.
Um,
Astrobot VR. That game is amazing.
they're like the thing that you pointed out, like interacting with things is an incredible like achievement in I think for VR, right? So you so and everything the but that's a double-edged sword, right? So anything that you can't interact with, that you see but you can't interact with, that's
Yeah.
a problem, because because like, oh no, no, it's like that's not like, if something is not working, then it's broken.
Yeah.
But the moment you can, so long as you can pick it up, like nothing else. So long as you can pick it up, oh, like turn it around and just throw it away. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be anything that has to do with the game itself. Like so long as you can interact with it, it's already fun. And I mean, things like what was a Job Simulator already like figured that out perfectly. That's
Yeah, we have João Correia in the chat talking about
mhm.
Alex, obviously, like Half-Life Alex, and Wrath of Asgard. And I think there was another one, but there were 2 or 3 games in this current gen that almost reached that level of interactivity that we are looking for. In terms that not everything is not everything you think you can do, but it's almost
Mhm.
everything. And so I think we're just right on the cusp of actually reaching the point where VR is absolutely like amazing. But let's see, we need some good investment on that as well to see if it actually pays off. Because in Half-Life Alex, I remember like you have a limited inventory, right? So you can only
Mhm.
carry a certain amount of ammo for bullets and everything. So what people did was grab a box that was open, throw ammo inside of it and other things they need, and then carry it around with them in the environment, so they had more inventory space. So we see this kind of new levels of interactivity and thinking outside of the box already. So I think we're headed in a good direction, but who knows
Yeah.
what the future can hold for that, I think.
The only challenge is actually answering to that, to like giving people that giving people that outside of the box thinking, like to make it usable in the game, and then just still making the game fun. And I think it's difficult, obviously, like, because that means like making it coherent with the story, and making coherent with the mechanics of what's going on. But I think that's a really good direction of moving it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also, as long as one of the main barriers of entry is of course the price, but the other one is the need to
Yeah.
set up everything and use lots of cables and puts and set everything up and like the Quest. I only tried it once,
Hmm.
but it's so close to being like the best possible experience, because you just grab it and go, right? No need to for
Yeah.
wires, no need for
Yeah.
anything. You just take it with you where you go. You have a computer, damn, and then you can play immediately. It's amazing. So it's really, I think the next few days, the next few years are going to be amazing for VR.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
We ended up diverging a bit from the topic, but I mean,
Sorry.
it's okay. It's awesome. As long as it's an interesting conversation, we're here for it. But did you feel like during this different year, because I suppose you have been working mostly from home this year. I don't know if you've
Oh yeah.
go
Yeah.
to a studio location or if you still enjoy some kind of collab work or something. But what did you miss the most in terms of what the work you're doing? For example, like showing off your game at events. Was that a big part of the that helped you with the development, or were you able to cope with the missing parts of this year? I would like you to share some of your strategies, which worked, which didn't work, and just your experience in general.
Oh, the worst thing is actually not being in the same room, like with the developers. That's the worst part. Like we had daily calls, we had like daily meetings in the morning to figure out what we're doing. We tried to like have a weekly goal. We try to like check in every so often to see like how everyone's doing and everything. But it's not the same. Like we checked that, we found that out one day, that we had like a list of problems to do with the helicopter level. It was like 7 or 8 items long, and we finished them in about 15 minutes. And it's like all it took was for like 2 or 3 of us to sit down in front of a computer, and it was like, right, so that's the problem. That's clearly the problem. I just do this, this, and this. And like that conversation just didn't, like, obviously we used voice communication and screen sharing and everything during the lockdown, but like just sitting in front of a computer, like the energy is different. I mean, when you communicate, that's the part that I miss the most. Festivals, I can't say that we had a lot of success at festivals. The ones that are indie focused are better, because obviously everybody's in the same boat, and it's like I said, it's a small creative community and everything. But as soon as there are AAA titles around, like everybody is always funnels towards them, and indies are just like a sideshow at those events. So they're never that interesting to us. Like we do much better. We do much better with like communicating with publishers and PR people like directly than trying to catch them at events like that.
Okay. Yeah, that was the point of IndieX. Of course, this edition is digital, and of course that brings all of what you mentioned: the lack of communication, the lack of being able to actually be present and show off the game to people. But yeah, that was kind of our point in trying to do this thing still this year digitally instead of physically. And I hope we have been able to at least give people a bigger idea of the kind of games that are out there that most of the time are not in the main, let's say, mainstream reel, right? Um, and what we
One
try to
thing,
do
yeah.
at IndieX is
Mhm.
exactly what you said. Like we normally we share a big stage, right? With we are
Mhm.
right next to PlayStation when we do a physical event. But thankfully, the people that help us make this event every year, they give us like a huge open space, and
Mhm.
we've been noticing that like every year that goes on, people are more like open to looking at indies as like, oh man, I have 50
Yeah,
games or 40 games
that
in
is
this
true. Yeah.
place stopping, and I can stop and play. But yeah, the first few years were kind of harsh in that we were there standing and people were looking at the AAA games. But I think more and more, thankfully, people are finally opening their eyes to the good that indies can be, and not only that, like looking at a game that is in an alpha stage or even beta stage, and not judging it harshly. Like, okay, the guy is sitting right there next to you, say, oh man, I'm working on this as we speak, and the person understands that, okay, this is not a finished product. This is obviously something that is still going, and a lot of time people are open to offering the valuable criticism. So I think we are
That that's a
heading in the right direction.
That's a really good point that you made. Like that is one thing. Like I didn't think of actually seeing people play your game like that's very important, because you see where people get frustrated. It's obviously a much quicker iteration and a much quicker feedback to see like where people are frustrated. You can write it down. You can send it back to the developer. And to a coder immediately, and you can change it even on the spot
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you
We
can do
had
the
some
code.
curious stories about that actually. Like some devs that were in past events of IndieX, they they submitted a different build every day. So they were there and they noted down everything that people were saying to them. They
Yep,
would go
yep,
home,
yep.
code throughout the night, and then at the next day they would have like a very different build. So yeah, that was a really good experience of that we were able to provide. I think we're actually coming up on our time now. But before we go, I want to thank you for
Hey, you're
taking a
welcome.
big chunk of your time to be with us and to show us this awesome game and to have this amazing
Thank you for
conversation
showing
with
it.
us. No, no problem. And of course, everyone you will be who didn't get to see this live, you'll be able to see it up on our channel Rubber Chicken TV on YouTube. Should be there in a couple of days, and we'll be right after this, like in about a couple of an hour or so. We'll be showing off Under Construction, another amazing indie game. So once again, Igor, thank you very much for being
You're
here
welcome.
with us and sharing your time. And I hope we can get to host you or Game Shuck in your future endeavors. Let's say. Thank you very much, everyone. See you.
Thanks.